is simply no end in sight to hate crimes and racist attacks in the US. Hundreds of people gathered on Sunday at vigils and churches in frustration and exhaustion to mourn yet another racist attack in America. This time, the killing of 3 black people in Florida at the hands of a white 21-year-old man, who authorities say left behind white supremacist ramblings that read, according to some officials, like the diary of a madman. Hundreds showed up at the vigil, a block from the Dollar General store in Jacksonville, where officials say Ryan Palmita opened fire on Saturday using guns which he had bought legally despite a past involuntary commitment for a mental health exam. Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, who's running for the GOP nomination for president, who has loosened gun laws in Florida and has antagonized civil rights leaders by deriding what he calls wokeness, was in fact loudly booed as he addressed the vigil. Now, this is just the latest in a long history of American racist killings. The sheriff said a video showed Palmita donning a bullet-resistant vest. A university security guard spotted him and parked near him. Palmita then drove off, and the security guard flagged down a Jacksonville sheriff's officer who was about to send out an alert to other officers when the shooting began inside the store. Now, Palmita used an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle and a Glock handgun during the shooting. He had legally purchased these guns in recent months, even though he had been involuntarily committed for a mental health examination in 2017. Because he was released after the examination, this would not have shown up in his background checks. And, well, we know that the US is a country that does not even care about background checks before selling guns to somebody. Palmita killed himself as the police arrived about 11 minutes into the shooting. Officials say he was just completely irrational, but with irrational thoughts, he knew what he was doing. He was 100% lucid. Many people had managed to flee the store through the back door, but Palmita chased after them and then fired, in some cases missed. He then went back inside the store and began shooting again. He chased a woman through the store and fired at her. Now, President Joe Biden in his reaction said, and I quote, "We must say clearly and forcefully that white supremacy has no place in America. We must refuse to live in a country where black families going to the store or black students going to school live in fear of being gunned down because of the color of their skin." Now, Governor DeSantis called the shooting a very cowardly act. He said the shooting, based on the manifesto that they discovered from the scumbag who did this, was racially motivated. He was targeting people based on their race, and this is totally unacceptable. Notably, but not surprisingly, Donald Trump, the former president, who is in the 2024 race for the White House too, has not reacted at all so far to this hate crime.
The Clay County Sheriff's Office, who has been assisting our agency with this investigation, received information after the shooting that the shooter had authored several manifestos, one to his parents, one to the media, and one to federal agents. Portions of these manifestos detailed the shooter's disgusting ideology of hate. Plainly put, this shooting was racially motivated, and he hated black people. This is a dark day in Jacksonville's history. Any loss of life is tragic, but the hate that motivated the shooter's killing spree adds an additional layer of heartbreak. There's no place for hate in our community, and this is not Jacksonville.
All right, no place for hate in our community, and yet the reality is that this is a country that witnesses hate crimes that are racially motivated every few days. Let me go back to Shri at this point. Shri, the President Biden has said there is simply no place for white supremacy in the United States. Well, somebody would say, tell that to those who attacked Capitol Hill, tell that to the Trump supporters. Like I said, it's not surprising at all that Donald Trump hasn't even reacted to this killing, because frankly, there are many who actually see him as the poster boy for white supremacy in that country. Many believe that MAGA is synonymous with white supremacy. But what should we make of the statements that have been made by the Florida governor? Now, DeSantis is taking on Trump in the presidential race next year. But even though he has called this act cowardly, he says that, these people were targeted based on their race. This is totally unacceptable. But he is a Republican. We know about their right wing agenda and ideology, and he is also a man who's made it easier for people to buy guns in Florida as the governor of the state. What should we make of his statements?
So, Neha, there's no doubt that the man in question, the culprit in question here, was a troubled man. He has a long history of hating black people. And as you yourself mentioned, in 2017, he was arrested under the Baker Act or detained for more than 72 hours for possessing a gun. Now, that should have actually, the whole issue of him owning a gun should have ended with that episode. But unfortunately, it did not, because as we now know, he bought these guns subsequently, despite having been detained once under the Baker Act. So, would I classify this random act of one senseless man and a senseless killing of three strangers he has nothing to do with? And his, initial attempt was actually to carry out the shooting in a local university, which was essentially largely known for black students. So he was spotted there, and the campus security shooed him away, and the sheriff's office was alerted. That's how he ended up going to the Dollar General store, where he first shot at a woman who was sitting in a car, and then went inside, shot another customer. And then, as others ran away, he waited in the shop. And as the third victim walked in, he shot him as well, and then turned the gun on himself. So, Neha, unfortunately, more than race, I think the gun violence needs to be dealt with in this country, because this marks the 470th mass shooting. So mass shooting, as defined by where more than 4 people have been killed in such shooting, more than 470 incidents have taken place from January to August this year, so which means more than 2 such incidents a day. Now, you mentioned President Biden condemning this attack and asking for gun laws to be tightened. President Kamala Harris herself has asked for, gun laws to be tightened and ownership to be strict, made much more strict. So that, I think, is the issue. Like, you have a lot of people with mental health issues. Now, should those people be allowed to own guns and then carry out their fantasies in real life, and costing innocent lives? That really is the issue, Neha. So Second Amendment has been a big bone of contention. And as we go into the election, this will remain a very significant issue, where both the Republicans and the Democratic parties are divided. Republicans saying that Second Amendment is sacrosanct, it's guaranteed by the Constitution. You can bear firearm to protect yourself, especially within your home. But obviously, these people are not doing this to protect themselves. They are taking their firearms and shooting in others, killing other people, often innocent victims. So I think this killing is going to spur the debate on Second Amendment, on ownership of gun, and who should be actually allowed to own guns. To my mind, it's fairly, very simple, because US, we have a social security number, and it's easy to track who's buying guns and who's allowed to buy guns. So after he was detained in 2017, Ray should have been just put on a watch list where he's not allowed to buy guns. Unfortunately, that system failed, Neha. And that system today has led us to this situation where 3 innocent people have been lost, and a man who had hatred for the black people has been allowed to carry out his deranged ideas and his deranged fantasy of taking lives of black people. So I think by tightening gun rules, by determining who can own and who cannot own guns, I think we can make America a safer place, and also reduce such instance of racially motivated crimes, Neha.
Well, fact of the matter is that America has been debating this issue for the longest time, and they will probably continue to debate who should be allowed to own guns till the cows come home. But fact of the matter is that innocent Americans continue to lose their lives in senseless instances of violence on account of the very lax gun laws in that country, and clearly the obsession that the Republicans and their supporters seem to have with guns. On that note, Sri, thank you so much.